Chosen one, do not announce your next move. Do not defend what is still being formed. And do not mistake the silence around you for evidence that nothing is happening. There are moments when speaking creates clarity, but there are also moments when speaking too soon invites fear into a decision that was never meant for other people. You have felt this before. An idea rises with unusual peace. A direction feels simple. Then you tell someone, and within minutes you begin explaining, shrinking, and questioning what felt clear. Their reaction enters your mind. Their history becomes your warning. Their limits begin speaking louder than your discernment. That is why this moment requires silence. Not punishment, not isolation, protection. Some things need time before they can survive the weight of outside opinion, because unfinished vision is easy to weaken when it is exposed to people who only understand your past. Watch. Watch which conversations suddenly feel empty. Watch which habits no longer fit. Watch which opportunity returns after you stopped chasing it. Watch what becomes obvious when you no longer feel forced to respond immediately. The move may not begin with thunder. It may begin with recognition, a message you almost ignored, a boundary you finally hold, a decision that feels quiet instead of dramatic. These small moments can become the first signs of a deeper shift already taking place. But there is something most people never explain. You can have faith and still struggle to recognize an answer when your mind is overloaded. One part of you believes, another part expects disappointment. One part sees possibility. Another part searches your past for proof that it will fail. This is the split receiver. The signal may not be absent. The receiver may be divided. When your inner world is filled with competing voices, even a simple next step can feel confusing, dangerous, or impossible to trust. That is why the instruction is not to push harder. It is to become still enough to notice what pressure keeps hiding. You do not need to force the future into view. You need enough inner quiet to recognize the first honest opening when it appears. Before this message ends, you will understand why silence protects what is forming. You will also discover why lost sharpness may not mean your potential is gone, and how a simple 8-minute practice may support clearer coordination within the mind. No one can promise you a miracle on a deadline, but you can change the condition from which you observe, decide, and act. That change may become the first move you have been waiting to see. Think about the last plan you shared too early. Did the plan truly change, or did your certainty change after you absorbed the fear of someone else? That question matters because clarity is often lost through interference before it is lost through evidence. For the next few moments, stop predicting the ending. Let the pattern reveal itself. Let facts separate from fear. You are not being asked to disappear. You are being asked to see clearly. If this describes your season, write, "I will watch." Not as a prediction, not as a bargain with God. Write it as a decision to observe before reacting and to protect what is still becoming real inside you. Stay with this. The first sign of movement may not be outside you. It may appear in the way you respond to what once controlled you. You may have spent months asking why nothing has changed. You prayed, you waited, you tried to remain faithful. Yet the same room, the same responsibilities, and the same unanswered questions surround you daily. Then comparison enters. Someone else receives the opportunity. Someone else celebrates the answer. Someone else moves forward while you remain in the same place. Silence begins to feel personal, and delay sounds like rejection. But silence does not prove absence. Not every important movement creates immediate evidence. A foundation changes before a house looks different, and one decision can reshape your future before anyone sees it. Sometimes the first movement is subtraction. A relationship loses its hold. An old ambition stops exciting you. A familiar place becomes hard to tolerate. You may call this loss, while a deeper part of you recognizes that space is being created. Sometimes Movement appears as preparation. A closed door forces you to develop a skill. A repetitive season reveals a pattern you could not see while rushing. These moments feel ordinary, but they can change what becomes possible next. This does not mean every disappointment was arranged for your benefit. It means you do not have enough evidence to call this season abandonment because the final outcome is not visible. The move may already be changing your standards, the people you trust, and the peace you refuse to trade for approval. That is why watching matters. It is not searching for secret codes. It is noticing repeated patterns without forcing meaning, and allowing facts to gather before fear writes the conclusion. Ask yourself, what has quietly changed? What no longer controls you? What conversation no longer deserves a response? What opportunity keeps returning in a practical form? What choice brings steadiness instead of the familiar rush of anxiety? For the next 7 days, try one simple practice. Do not hunt for signs. Do not announce a new plan. Each night, write down what repeated, what ended, what returned, and what became easier to see. You may notice one invitation keeps appearing. You may recognize that one relationship survives only when you abandon your boundaries. A dismissed idea may return with clarity and a practical next step. The first sign of movement may be your response. Something that once provoked you no longer controls the day. A delay that once created panic now creates space for evaluation. You still care, but you no longer surrender your judgment to every emotional wave. This is not passivity. It is disciplined awareness. You stop calling every closed door an attack and every open door an answer. You test what appears through wisdom, evidence, peace, and responsible action. One day, you may look backward and see the sequence. One ending protected another beginning. One rejection pushed you toward a skill. One quiet season exposed a habit that success would have magnified. That moment may leave you speechless, not because everything happened instantly, but because you finally see how many pieces were moving before the picture became visible. If this brings relief, write hidden, not forgotten. A lack of visible proof is not proof of failure or abandonment. Now, a deeper question remains. Why can speaking too soon weaken this new awareness, even when the people around you seem supportive? The answer begins when an unfinished decision enters another person's fear. Speaking can feel like relief. You share the plan, hear a response, and briefly feel less alone. But when an idea is still fragile, every opinion becomes another voice your mind must process. Some people speak because they need confirmation. Others announce the plan because saying it creates the feeling of progress, even when no action has begun. This is where clarity starts leaking. You explain what you are building, then defend it against questions you were not ready to answer. Soon, the original idea is buried beneath warnings and expectations that never belonged to you. The instruction to be quiet is not about fear. It is not about hiding from everyone. It is about creating what we will call the sacred silence window. This is a chosen period when you protect an unfinished decision from unnecessary interference. During this window, you do not lie. You do not isolate yourself. You do not ignore wise counsel. You simply stop presenting a young idea to people who only know how to evaluate finished results. Before sharing, ask 3 questions. Does this person understand the full context? Do I need wisdom, or do I only want reassurance? Has this intention already produced a responsible action? Those questions create a boundary. They separate guidance from noise. A trusted person may offer evidence, while an anxious person may hand you unfinished fear. Not every warning is discernment. When you are uncertain, another person's reaction can feel divine, even when it is only their history speaking. Unfinished plans need protection. A seed does not explain itself underground. It remains where roots can form without constant interruption. Let the plan develop through research, prayer, reflection, and action. Let evidence strengthen it, and let weak assumptions fall away before you invite the world into the conversation. Silence should never replace medical, legal, financial, or safety guidance. It should not isolate you from responsible support. Protection is not secrecy that puts you in danger. The goal is not distrust. It is selective timing. You can love people without giving them early access to every decision, and respect advice without surrendering your judgment. Try this with one thing you are building. Keep it within a trusted circle until action creates evidence. Each day, ask what became clearer and what changed after real information appeared. The idea may grow stronger, or it may need revision. Both outcomes are useful. Clarity is not proving you were right. It is becoming willing to see what is true. If this is the boundary you need, write protected while forming. Let those words mark a new pattern where unfinished dreams are no longer handed to finished fear. Now we reach the deeper layer. Why can a quiet mind notice connections that constant effort keeps missing? Research into how different parts of the brain coordinate has inspired a simple 8-minute listening approach. The material describes a process intended to support cooperation between analytical and creative functions. This is not the full reveal. First, understand what may have happened to the sharpness you remember from childhood, and why modern pressure can divide a capable mind. Hold this question. What if the clarity you lost was not destroyed, but disconnected? Chosen one. Remember who you were before the world trained you to doubt every original thought. You could disappear into an idea. You could build entire worlds from almost nothing. Curiosity moved faster than fear, and learning felt natural because you were not measuring every step against the judgment of others. You noticed patterns. You asked unusual questions. Then life became louder, and responsibility slowly replaced wonder. You learned to avoid mistakes, seek approval, and stay inside answers that other people already accepted. Now you may struggle to remember a name. You may lose a thought halfway through a sentence. You may open one task, check another, and end the day wondering why your mind feels so tired. These moments can make you believe that your best intelligence belongs to the past. But brain fog does not automatically mean you became less intelligent. It does not prove your creativity disappeared. Sometimes capacity remains, while access becomes harder because stress, distraction, and constant reaction keep different abilities from working together smoothly. The product material describes a decline in creative performance between childhood and adulthood. It presents this as evidence that natural ability may become suppressed over time. What happened to the child who could imagine freely? Perhaps that person did not vanish. Perhaps the environment changed and your mind adapted by becoming cautious, divided, and permanently alert. People often describe the left side of the brain as analytical and sequential. They describe the right side as visual, intuitive, and creative. The real brain is more complex, but the important idea is coordination, not choosing one side over the other. Logic without imagination repeats what already exists. Imagination without evaluation can drift away from reality. Faith without discernment may become wishful thinking, while analysis without vision can make every new possibility look impossible. You need both. You need the part that recognizes patterns and the part that checks the facts. You need imagination for a new future and judgment for one responsible step toward it. This is the quiet mind advantage. A calmer mind does not guarantee a perfect decision. It creates more room for information, intuition, memory, and creativity to enter the same conversation. Try one simple exercise. Take a blank page. On one side, write what I know. On the other side, write what I sense. Then find one small action supported by both columns. Maybe a job is draining you, while another skill keeps calling your attention. The next step may be researching one course or testing that skill for 30 minutes. Clarity is rarely one loud feeling. It often appears where evidence and inner recognition begin pointing in the same direction. Stop calling yourself lazy because your attention is exhausted. You may need better sleep, professional support, less stimulation, or a practical tool that creates a calmer mental condition. If you notice serious changes in memory or daily function, seek qualified medical guidance. Spiritual language should never replace responsible care. But if pressure and fragmentation caused a slower decline, do not assume your potential is gone. The sharpness you remember may still be present beneath habits that trained every part of your mind to work alone. You may have prayed, meditated, listened to audio, and repeated affirmations, yet still felt divided. Why did those methods fail to create the change you expected? The answer is not that you failed. They may have been solving a different problem. You may be thinking that you already tried everything. You prayed with focus. You practiced meditation. You listened to free audio. You repeated affirmations, yet the fog returned, and the same decisions remained difficult. That does not mean you failed. It does not mean your faith was weak. It may mean those methods were addressing a different problem than the one controlling your attention. Breathing exercises and meditation can help. Neurofeedback may also help, but it can require equipment, appointments, and significant cost. The product material makes a different claim. It says the issue may involve how analytical and creative functions coordinate, rather than a simple lack of motivation or positive thinking. This distinction matters. More effort cannot always repair fragmentation. A divided mind can consume endless information, save dozens of videos, start several routines, and still fail to turn insight into one clear decision. That is the midpoint twist. Your problem may not be a lack of information. You may already know enough. The real difficulty may be integration, because fear, memory, logic, and imagination keep competing for control. This explains why a method may create temporary calm without lasting direction. None of those methods are worthless. The point is alignment. The product material positions its approach as different from ordinary sound content. It does not describe the method as another brainwave recording, and it does not ask you to force a particular emotional state. Instead, it presents a short listening practice intended to support greater cooperation across the brain. This is not a guaranteed cure, and it cannot replace medical care, sleep, nutrition, wise counsel, or responsible action. But the practical question remains: what happens when a person who feels scattered uses a simple routine designed around coordination rather than effort? You do not need to believe the answer immediately. Examine the mechanism, the time required, the cost, and the protection offered. You have already completed the hardest part. You noticed the pattern. You saw how noise affected your decisions. You stopped calling every delay abandonment, and you began separating your direction from the fear of others. The next piece is not another complicated ritual. It is not another hour added to your morning. It is a way to support the condition from which you observe, connect, and choose. Remember the question from earlier. What if the clarity you lost was not destroyed, but disconnected? The answer may be less mystical than expected. It may involve helping abilities that already exist work together more effectively. Imagine 10 open tabs inside your mind. You only need to recognize which one deserves attention now. If you are ready to release the pressure to solve everything at once, write, "I release the noise." Let it mark the moment you stop collecting more answers and begin looking for integration. The largest revelation is next. We will connect the research cited in the product material, the 8-minute practice, and the recognition gap that may have kept you from seeing the next opening. Now the pattern can be seen clearly. You thought silence meant absence. You thought speaking more would create certainty. You thought brain fog proved your potential was gone. But each belief increased the same problem. It trained you to react before observing, explain before understanding, and search for more information before integrating what you already knew. This is the recognition gap. It is the distance between what you asked for and your ability to recognize it when it appears in an unexpected form. You may ask for financial change, then dismiss a new skill because it does not resemble the opportunity you imagined. You may ask for clarity, while filling every quiet moment with more opinions and predictions. This does not mean every idea is guidance. Facts, timing, consequences, and responsibility still matter. You have already done the difficult part. You survived the season that changed you. You recognized which doors keep repeating the same pain. You began questioning the noise that once controlled every decision. The final piece is not more pressure. It is restoring the condition from which recognition becomes possible. An ordinary email may contain one useful opening. A quiet idea may deserve one small test. A clearer mind pauses, checks the facts, and allows evidence to develop. This is where faith and responsibility meet. You do not chase every feeling. You do not reject every possibility. You observe, test, and move with increasing clarity. That is why the tool introduced earlier belongs here. It is not being presented as a miracle, a command from God, or the only path forward. It is being presented as a simple way to support the receiver. The product is designed for people who recognize a particular pattern. They do not necessarily lack belief. They struggle to connect insight with decision and creativity with responsible action. It may appeal to those who tried ordinary audio and felt little change. It may also fit people who remember being sharper, more imaginative, and more curious. This does not make anyone superior. It does not mean people who choose another method are less ready. It simply allows you to decide whether the mechanism, routine, and terms fit your needs. Before the full reveal, ask yourself one honest question. If a simple daily practice could support clearer coordination, would 8 minutes feel possible? Answer from practicality. Could you use it consistently without expecting it to replace sleep, treatment, discipline, or wise action? If the answer is yes, then the next section will show you exactly what the product is, how the material says it works, what it includes, and what protection is offered. The question is no longer whether you should force the move. The question is how you support the mind that must recognize it. If you are ready to notice the next responsible opening, write, "I recognize the opening." Let those words mean that you will stop demanding thunder and start paying attention to the first clear step. The question is no longer whether you should force the move. The question is how you support the mind that must recognize it. The tool introduced earlier is called the Genius Switch, and the product material presents it as a digital audio practice that takes 8 minutes each day. The routine is easy. You use headphones. You close your eyes, relax, and listen. There is no journal to complete, no mantra to memorize, and no complicated sequence before listening. The product material says this approach was presented by Doctor Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York City. It connects the idea to split brain research associated with Roger Sperry. The Nobel Prize belongs to that research, not to this product. The Genius Switch is not proven by an award, and listening does not guarantee a higher intelligence score or a specific life result. The product material calls its approach neural sync technology. It says the audio is designed to support cooperation between analytical and creative functions. Logic helps you test an idea. Creativity helps you see a possibility. Intuition notices a pattern, while judgment checks whether the next action is responsible. The goal is not to replace prayer. It is not a replacement for discipline, medical care, sleep, nutrition, or wise counsel. It is offered as support for the condition from which you observe and choose. The material positions the product as different from ordinary sound content. It does not ask you to force a particular emotional state. You do not need expensive equipment or repeated appointments. You listen for 8 minutes, then continue with the responsibilities and choices that still belong to you. According to the sales material, some customers report meaningful changes. Lisa, a professional from the United States, describes moving from feeling that life happened to her toward greater confidence and direction. Another customer, Ellie, describes a family pattern that once felt like bad luck. Her account reframes that experience as unused potential, rather than proof of a supernatural curse. These are personal testimonials. They are not guarantees, and experiences can vary. Their value is that they show how some users describe the practice in their own lives. The product may fit 3 kinds of people. The first group has tried ordinary audio and felt disappointed. The second feels trapped in a repeating family pattern. The third remembers being more creative, curious, and mentally sharp. You may recognize yourself in one group or in all 3. That recognition only helps you decide whether the product addresses the problem you want to solve. The sales page includes an estimate of up to $500. It lists a standard price of $49, while the current page presents the offer at $39. Prices can change, so review the official page before deciding. Do not buy because you fear losing a blessing. Do not buy because someone makes you feel spiritually incomplete. The offer includes 4 digital bonuses. 1 is a guided visualization focused on money, love, health, and happiness. Another is a smart grocery shopping guide designed around choices that may support clearer daily functioning. A third bonus is a classic manifestation book that has existed for more than 100 years. The fourth is a printable infographic describing 5 habits that users can place where they will see it each day. Access is digital through email. There is no shipping fee. The offer includes lifetime access and a money-back guarantee, though every buyer should read the terms on the official checkout page. This is the moment to decide from clarity. Look at the mechanism. Review the time, price, bonuses, and guarantee. Then ask whether this is a practical experiment you can use consistently. If the approach makes sense to you, the official presentation is linked below. Read it carefully, review the guarantee, and decide without pressure. The genius switch will not do your work for you. It will not make every feeling trustworthy, and it cannot choose the next step on your behalf. Its role is smaller and more honest. It is offered as an 8-minute practice, intended to support a quieter, more coordinated condition for observation, thinking, and decision. A tool does not need to control your future to improve the way you meet it. The product has been revealed, but the message does not end with a purchase decision. The greater question is what you recognize when noise no longer controls every response. If the genius switch fits your needs, you can review the official presentation below. Whatever responsible practice you use, the principle remains the same. A clearer receiver notices what pressure once hid. Many people wait for a dramatic sign. They expect thunder, a sudden message, or an opportunity so obvious that doubt becomes impossible. But important changes often begin quietly. An email arrives. A conversation opens a new direction. A skill keeps returning to your attention. A boundary becomes necessary. A refusal protects energy that was being wasted. These moments can look ordinary, so they are often missed. Anxiety wants spectacle, because spectacle removes the need for discernment. Clarity works differently. It notices the small opening. It checks facts. It asks what action is possible now, without pretending to know the entire future. This is the final breakthrough. The move that leaves you speechless may not begin as sudden wealth or an instant transformation. It may begin when you realize that the clarity you kept requesting has quietly returned. You hear the same conversation, but you no longer react the same way. You see the same problem, but a new connection appears. You face the same choice, but fear no longer receives the final vote. That inner change does not guarantee an easy outcome, It gives you a better condition for meeting reality with wisdom, steadiness, and responsible action. Use the 24-hour recognition rule when a meaningful opportunity appears. Do not accept or reject it while you are emotionally activated. Create space to separate information from pressure. Write 3 simple categories: facts, fears, possible next step. Then choose one small action that can be tested without creating unnecessary damage. You might request more information. You might schedule one conversation. You might research one course. You might wait one night before sending the message that anger wants to write. This is not delay caused by fear. It is a deliberate pause that allows the whole picture to become clearer. Imagine tomorrow morning. You listen for 8 minutes, not because you expect a supernatural feeling, but because you are creating a quieter beginning. You enter the day with one clear question. At work, 2 ideas connect in a way you had not seen. In a relationship, you pause instead of defending yourself immediately. At night, you record one decision that contained less noise. Nothing looked magical, yet something important changed. You were no longer moving from the same automatic pattern. After several days, you may not say that every problem disappeared. You may say something more grounded. I am noticing more. I am choosing differently. I am becoming harder to control through fear. That is the watching this message has described. It is active awareness. It is the ability to notice a pattern, test an opening, and act without announcing every unfinished step. Do not leave now. Understanding the mechanism is not the same as choosing a new internal posture. Before this message closes, you will make one declaration that asks for no guaranteed miracle. It will simply confirm that you are ready to stop demanding thunder and start recognizing the next responsible opening. You stayed long enough to hear more than a promise. You saw how silence can protect what is forming, and how a divided mind can turn one clear opening into many conflicting interpretations. Honor what it took to reach this moment. You have carried unanswered questions. You have lived through delays that made you doubt yourself. You may have called yourself lazy, foolish, or forgotten when you were exhausted. You do not need to keep using those names. Your pain does not prove that every hardship was necessary, but it does prove that you are still here and still capable of choosing what happens next. Take a slow breath. Notice the noise without fighting it. Breathe out and release the need to explain yourself to everyone. Breathe in and remember what belongs to you. Breathe out and release the fear you borrowed from other people. Breathe in and return to the present moment. Breathe out and stop forcing the future to reveal everything at once. Let this become your prayer. You do not have to chase what you are finally prepared to recognize. You are not asking for a guaranteed miracle. You are choosing a different posture. You are choosing to watch carefully, test wisely, and move when a responsible step becomes clear. Say these words within yourself. I am not forgotten. I do not need to announce what is still forming. I release borrowed fear. I protect what is sacred without isolating myself. My mind is not my enemy. I can pause before I react. I can separate facts from fear. I can recognize the next faithful step. I am becoming clear enough to see. I am becoming steady enough to wait without surrendering my agency. I am becoming wise enough to act without demanding approval from every person around me. The silence is not empty. It can become a place where pressure loses its authority, where patterns become visible, and where one honest decision begins to change the direction of your life. You may still face uncertainty tomorrow. You may still feel fear, but fear does not have to make every choice, and uncertainty does not have to become proof that you are abandoned. This is your declaration. I am ready to watch. I am ready to recognize. I am ready to act with wisdom. If these words reflect your decision right, I am ready to recognize. Do not use the comment as a bargain with God. Use it as a visible commitment to stop letting automatic reactions decide your future. You do not need thunder to take one faithful step. You do not need universal approval to protect a responsible decision. You do not need perfect certainty before you begin gathering evidence. The move may start quietly. It may begin through a boundary, a conversation, a skill, or one clear decision that your old fear would have avoided. When it appears, do not rush to announce it. Watch what it produces. Test it through truth, responsibility, and peace. Then walk forward without shrinking yourself to fit the expectations of your past. Be still, watch carefully, walk wisely. Amen.